We're going to be looking at a 5 problem set today, displaying absolute bishop mastery in mostly the endgame and some the middle game. We're going to mix it up a little bit. So I know we got knight guys, we got bishop guys in chess. I'm personally more of a knight guy myself, but chess is an objective game. It's like, I don't care. I'm giving you 2 of each. Use them as you will. I bet you'll use them incorrectly throughout the game. If chess was a person, that's probably what it would say to us. So these are going to be very difficult. They're going to range in difficulty, but none of these are going to be easy. If you go 5 for 5, get yourself some ice cream tonight or something, because that will be impressive. So, white to move. How does white win this position? It is a same colored bishop endgame, so a lot of drawing opportunities off the board right there because both sides control the dark squares. We got 3 pawns versus 3 pawns, so it's equal in material, but white is winning. What would you do? Calculate 3 possible moves, and we'll go from there. Those are called candidate moves. Good to think of. Avoids tunnel vision. So, many people might think, oh, I'm going to take this pawn on a6. They're going to take back, and I'm going to go king b3, pressuring their bishop. Let's see what happens. Pawn takes a6. Pawn takes a6. King b3. I'm correct. Are you, though? Are they forced to take on a6? No, they are not. In this position, they're going to go king to b6 and win your pawn back like this. You might be like, I don't get it. I'm up a pawn. Temporarily, you're up a pawn. See, their king is too close to this pawn, so you will end up losing it. What I mean by that, for example, is let's say you attack the bishop and then attack the bishop again. Black's going to go king c6, and he's going to win this pawn back. It is a drawn king and pawn endgame. I can prove it. Let's say you move the king, take, 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 take. Know your opposition. This will be a draw. Quite hard to lose that. So let's go back to the start. What else could you do? Well, I think logically you can aim at this bishop, right? This bishop doesn't have too many squares. In fact, it only has 1 safe square to go to. So let's start with that. Let's go king to b3 by process of elimination, and they move their bishop here to b4. What now? So, what's the difference? You do not want to go c3 in this position because then it's going to be the same thing. Their bishop has escaped. It has more routes, and you're just not winning anymore. So what do you want to do? Well, you want to take on a6. You might be like, I don't understand the difference. Well, the difference is they can't go king b6 because they will lose this dark squared bishop. So after they take back on a6, phase 2, commencing. How do we win? Only one winning move. c3 does look tempting, but the bishop just gets out and it's safe. So what should we do? This king is tied down to the bishop, so start with the check. The king has to move over to b5, and from here, what now? Well, this king is still tied down to the bishop, so kick it even further. We get pawn to c4, king a5, and now it is phase 3. How do we win this? Find the winning bishop route. The only winning move in this position is bishop to g5. Can you believe that you're threatening mate? You're threatening mate in this position. So if they take this pawn on d6, you give the check, they have to block. It's checkmate with just a bishop. Amazing. One would think it's a knight. You might be like, I don't get it though. They're going to go here and block the mate. You would be correct, but how do we win this? Utter mastery. Finding the move bishop to c7. The point is it's Zook's one. The bishop is pinned to the king. Once the bishop takes the bishop, you take back and you promote. So, did you get that one right? Are you ready for number 2? Let's switch it up. Let's do a middle game. This is a Tal game. Tal is playing with the white pieces. You might think of Tal as a tactical monster, and you'd be correct. But this is positional chess. This is bishop brilliancy. That might be a good name for the title. I know I read somewhere you should think of a title and a thumbnail before. We're not like that yet, but we're getting there. So, this position, white to move. How would you break down this position? What is everything you see? You might be like, okay, black has doubled pawns and an outside isolated pawn that they're tied down to. So pawn structure-wise, white is better. I agree. You might be like, white's rooks are more coordinated, more active because he's castled. It's hard for black to imagine castling either way, so their rooks are going to be slow. You would also be correct. Then you might say my bishop is better than black's bishop because his bishop's doing nothing. That's where you would be incorrect. You see, due to the light squared pawn structure, white's bishop hits a lot of walls, whereas though this bishop on d7 is not pretty, it can become prey. There's opportunity, there's glow ups for all pieces and people out there. This bishop wants to come to c6, where it will have a beautiful scope. And queens, I would say white's is a little better because black's is tied down. So let's get into it. I think a lot of people here would go rook to d6. It's not like it's a bad move, it's just a misjudgment in the position. You see, at this point, what black would go bishop to c6. You might be like, oh, I'm just going to double up, I'm going to triple up. And you see the bar has dropped into black's favor because such a quick attack has spawned. Rook to g8, aiming at this g2 pawn. You might panic here and be like, oh my goodness, I have to defend. Let's go rook g1. But then they jump even furthermore into your position with rook to g3, aiming at your a3 pawn. You're like, simple, I'll just defend it. That's how fast you can lose to checkmate in chess. Did you see that pin? Crazy. So you see, if you just play in believing your position is so much better, not thinking about what your opponent wants, then you're going to end up losing. You're going to get tunnel vision, do what you want, not think about what your opponent wants, and he's going to get his ideas in sometimes. So a good way to think is, what does my opponent want, and what pieces am I happy to trade off? If you think their only improvement is bishop c6, rook g8, which I think those are the simple moves to think of, you're going to be like, okay, his bishop is about to become a monster. My bishop's not doing too much. Is there any way I can trade? You anticipate your opponent's idea before they play it, and then you find the move bishop e2. It's the only way to find this move. A retreating move, and it's the only way on this diagonal, right? Kind of like in yesterday's game where I referenced this and then forgot to put it in the end of the video. It's kind of like this. They go bishop c6, and they've played into your hand. You counterclaim the diagonal. Okay, you didn't need to right away. You could go rook d6. But the point is, this position, though equal according to the engine, any person, I believe, would preferably take the white pieces here because your rooks are about to play themselves. Again, they're tied down to the h-pawn. They have doubled f-pawns, and you're not worried about getting checkmated. It's essentially an unlosable position unless you hang a piece in one move. So you've made it so you can't lose. Now the next step would be winning. But a beautiful conversion by Tal, and he did end up winning this game against Koblentzis. I don't know who that is. Probably a grandmaster knowing Tal, though. All right, one more middle game one, two more end game ones. Stick around. So in this position, we got bishops versus knights. The point of this video, minor pieces. You might be like, oh, it's a closed positions. The knights will thrive. The bishops won't do too hot. Well, it's semi-closed, yes. But look at these knights. They can't move anywhere. And there's not even a route for this knight to get into the game due to the diagonal our bishop is controlling. But these bishops aren't anything to brag about themselves. So this is a position where the minor pieces kind of take the back pedal to the major pieces. How do you know who has an advantage here? Well, you know who has an advantage by who claims the flank files. The only open files on the board. So what you should be thinking of here is black either wants to double up on the H file and deliver checkmate in some way, shape, or form, or he wants to go rook A8, at which point takes, he claims the other open A file. So what should white do? You might be like, oh, so you're telling me I need to get my queen to A or H1? Correct. You need to double up to counterclaim the file. But what if I told you only one of these moves was winning? Mind-blowing, right? One of those queen moves is winning, meaning two are losing. What's the difference? Well, the difference is if you go queen d1 or e1, black has an amazing tactical resource to save himself. Can you find it? The move, knight to f4 check. The point, you have to take this knight, at which point they take back. And you don't want to take this guy because then after they get out of the pin, I mean, first of all, there's the open G and H file, and this knight will be fantastic on E5. So logically, you'd retreat the bishop. They go rook to G8. And okay, the computer can hold this. I would argue a lot of people would get checkmated very quickly in this position. Only move bishop to H4. Okay, sure. So a very scary position and a very nice tactical resource that black can have to either draw or win the game. So what should white do? He needs to maintain the battery, queen c1. This stops the move or the idea, knight to f4, because you're just going to take the pawn. You might be like, what's the difference? The difference is you have the battery. So you can snap everything off. The knight is pinned. Your queen gets in. And you have an escape route. So you're never going to get checkmated. Now let's go back to the focal point of moving your queen to the first rank. What was the point? Well, the point was you knew they wanted to double up. But now if they try to, you're just going to go queen h1. They can't double up now because then you were going to, I can put that on the board. You're going to take their queen, they're going to take back, and you infiltrate. You're going to win all their pawns. You're going to get a couple passers. Position's going to be blown open, and the bishops will thrive. So logically, they're going to take. You know, they might throw in a spite check. But the point is you're just going to get behind their pawns eventually. It's going to take some time. You might need to play a move like bishop f1, king f2, bishop here. Move your king over here, go up, go here, and win this pawn. It's going to be a long, drawn-out win. But these knights are essentially paralyzed. They have no good routes due to how many pawns are stuck in the center and how there's no infiltration, or outposts is the word I was looking for. So this is quite an amazing puzzle, and white stands better. Now, two more. This one's pretty cool. So we got a bishop and a rook versus a bishop and a knight. What do we know about this? Well, we know that if we trade off minor pieces, a bishop versus a rook is a draw, and a knight versus a rook is also a draw. So you can't do that. So you need to win material. How do we win material? Well, this king is trapped on the h-file. That's pretty good for us. I think throwing in the check looks logical because forcing moves, he only has one move. What do we do here? Correct. I know you found it. Rook to g7. It's going to get harder, though. We have two attackers on this knight, but it's not so easy. If we take this knight with the bishop, we lose our rook. Unfortunately, that's not enough material to checkmate because we have no control over the light squares. Vice versa, if you win two pieces for the rook, it's still not a draw because that's not enough material to checkmate. So how do we win this? There's only one winning move. You might be like, only one winning move? No way. Well, look what happens if we just move away. They're going to go knight c6, get the trade they want, or get the pieces into the game, and it's going to be very hard to win because they have their minor pieces coordinated. And again, just to prove, this is a draw. So, going back here, the only winning move is rook to f7. You might be like, rook f7, what's the point? Well, the point is, if their king comes in to attack both pieces, like, aha, then you just go rook f8. They can't take your bishop, it's defended. And wherever they move their knight, a rook and a king versus a king is a checkmate. Did you know that? Mind blown. I can make a video if anybody needs on those technical checkmates. So, rook f8 and black's in Zook's one. So what else could black do? You might be like, I don't get it. Why can't he go knight c6? Good question. The answer? It depends on the position, right? A knight versus a rook is a draw unless you're going to win the knight, which we are. Bishop takes, knight takes. How do you win this knight? Well, you know the king is on the 6th. You know your rook has to stay on the 7th and is being attacked on the 7th. And you know it has to stay on the 7th so that the knight cannot escape on the 7th. So the only escape would then be on the 6th, especially if you attack it on the 7th. See what I mean? I might have explained that poorly. My apologies. But this knight only has or can go to c6 or e6. Whichever it chooses, it gets pinned to the king. And again, a king and a rook versus a king is winning. So, number 4. Are you 4 for 4 right now? I'm pretty sure that's like a fast food combo, or at least it used to be. I don't know. I don't eat fast food, so I don't know which one, but I think I used to hear it on a commercial. So, now, final one. A bit odd. You might be like, I don't get it. White is super winning. He's up a bishop. Black has drawing opportunities. We're going to see what they are. We're going to see how to avoid them. So how do we start? Well, you can give a check, but I would say induce a weakness. Induce this pawn into moving. Now, if they go bishop g8, it does protect the pawn, but then they're going to lose this pawn after you go bishop a3 and stop them from pushing it to b2. So the better move is actually for them to sacrifice the pawn by going pawn to b2. This gives them drawing odds. You do fork them, bishop to d4. That's why you wanted to do it in this move order. And in this position, they go king g5. You might be like, I don't get it. This is super, super winning. Just wait. They go bishop to f5 check, forcing your king to move. And after your king moves, they play the move pawn to h4. Only one winning move. You see, if you take this pawn, it is a draw because there's, you know, 2 bishops versus 1 bishop, draw. And what else do we have? If we can't take their pawn, you know it needs to be a check, because if we push, we're going to lose it. That's a draw. If we take, we're going to lose it. That's also a draw. So by process of elimination, bishop to c1. Now, where are they going to move their king? Well, they have to defend this pawn. Otherwise, we're going to win it for free. So if they go king to g4, find the mate in 1. That's right. Checkmate in 1. Look at that coordination over here. So that would be a nice way. But chess is never that easy, so your opponent, you have to assume, is going to find king h5. Again, there is only one winning move. Not bishop to d1. Bishop to d1 looks good, but why does it not work? Well, because they go bishop to g4 and they force all the trades off that they wanted. 2 bishops versus 1 bishop, king and bishop versus king, all of which are a draw. So the only winning move, pawn to g4, giving up the pawn on your own terms. The point is, if king takes, you have the checkmate we just discussed. And what else do they have? They have bishop takes. Can you find the mate in 1 here? Look at that. Bishop to e8. Look at this coordination. Unbelievable. What else do they have? Well, they have king g6. Okay, that's an argument that can be made. But I would argue you just take the bishop, they take back, you go king h3, you're going to win the pawn. Question of the day. Do you know how to checkmate with 2 bishops versus a king? So, today's video was to show bishop mastery, show bishops some love. I forgot to put it in yesterday's video, so I figured I'd make it the whole point of today's video. Did you guys enjoy? Did you go for a 5 for 5? I hope so. Thank you as always for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace. Boom.